Everybody know what viticulture is? Grape farming. I used to refer myself as a viticulturalist, a biodynamic viticulturalist. The local farmers had no clue what I was talking about, so I always said, we're grape farmers. They understand that part. My wife and I have been working for the last 5 or 6 years on developing an industry in the mountains. And the title of my presentation today, Using Viticulture as an Engine for Economic Growth in Mountain Counties, came out of a vision that I had a number of years ago when I first came to this part of the country. I was born and raised in the mountains of West Virginia, and it's so far back up the mountain and the hollers and the creeks up there, you have to pipe in the sunshine as well as the moonshine. If you didn't do it yourself, it didn't get done. So, traveling around the world and looking at things, and coming here to the North Carolina mountains, and I saw these beautiful mountains, all these wonderful south-facing slopes, the right amount of water falling out of the sky, the right kind of soil, cold weather climate, grape country, that's what we live in. And I didn't see one vineyard on any hill in the mountains. And I thought, what's wrong with this picture? So we embarked upon a program. When we take a look at the special resources that we have here in the mountains, including the rainfall, the soil, the climate, a farming heritage, I mean, heck, we've got 150 years of experience here growing things in the mountains. Most of the farmers own the land. They're used to hard work. Grape farming is hard work. It's not easy. You're not a gentleman farmer if you're raising grapes unless you can hire a lot of help. We also have the native Katuah muscadine grape. And I might tell you, there's one growing right over here. The little teeny tiny muscadine leaves just growing right up near the trunk of that tree right there. It's just amazing. I was astounded to see that this morning. My wife actually pointed it out. But that little puppy put us on a path. We developed something called the French Broad Vignerons. There's about 160 people who are local winemakers and grape growers. We've all been working together for the last 3 or 4 years, developing a knowledge base, all of our own, in order to do some fun things at growing grapes here in the mountains. We have the Blue Ridge Naturally Seal program that was started by the North Carolina Natural Products Association so that we can give a seal, which is very important for international and national sales of products coming from this region. It says it's place-based guarantee. If it's got the seal on it, it comes from North Carolina, or it's made in North Carolina. It's very, very important for foreign buyers and other buyers to know this. We also have put together a teaching vineyard up in Marshall. And we have here the Natural Products Lab, the Blue Ridge Food Ventures Group, Bent Creek Institute, North Carolina State University Mills River Horticulture Research Center, and North Carolina Natural Products Association. We have a lot of support structure and infrastructure here ready to help and promote grape growing. But people here don't know anything about grapes. Oh, they know you can make pies and preserves, and you can get some good juice. Once in a while, make a little wine out of it. But let me give you an inkling, a view, if you will, of what you can do with grapes. They start like this. This is a greenwood cutting. After about 2 to 3 weeks in a special greenhouse environment we set up. And you notice a little tiny root that forms down on the bottom here? That's the magic stuff. These suckers are hard to propagate. Very, very hard. You have to control the solar radiation, the airflow movement, the rooting zone temperature, the support medium. You have to control things so carefully to make it a commercial venture. But we have a greenhouse set up now just to do this. And we've got people now who are planting acres of these things. Acres of them. We can take this vine, and after 2 weeks in a special potting soil that we have inoculated with something called Mycorrhizae Fungi, now that's really special. That's a fungus that's in the soil. Makes these things grow like crazy. Well, this Mycorrhizae Fungi can reach out as far as 60 feet, it has been measured, and bring back whatever element that grapevine wants. Now imagine this. This fungus, it attaches itself to the root, and the grapevine says, I think today I need some boron or some selenium or maybe some chromium. And this fungus will go out up to 60 feet and find it and bring it back along this underground conveyor belt to give it to that grapevine. Magic stuff, this. But that's what plants do. It's wonderful things that happen out there. Fast forwarding through, here's after you leave it in the pot for a little while. It's just roots just growing all over it. We take it out and put it in a vineyard. We put it in a vineyard. We had, at our place, we got a lot of rabbits. So we put a little metal cage around it to keep the rabbits from eating them, and they will chew them down to the snow line in the wintertime if you don't put a cage around them. Lost 2 whole rows the first year because we didn't understand that. And then after 1 year, they grow from the ground up to the first training wire, about 5 feet off the ground. And after this to year 2, you get them up and you start training them out the wires. This is forming the cordon. This is where all the future grapes will come from. Now, these kind of grapes are strange. The Katuah muscadine is a very strange grape. This year's grape comes off of this year's growth. And that's quite different from the other 15,000 varieties of grapes in the world. This year's grapes come off of last year's growth on the other grapes. So if you prune your vines wrong, you won't get any grapes. Guarantee it. And what you're looking right here is one of the rarest photographs in the world. I picked these 2 grapes this morning off of this vine. This is one of 5 vines in our vineyard that this year produced the very first ever Katuah muscadine grapes produced in a commercial vineyard. Never been done before. This is history in the making. This is important because when you start to look at developing an industry, which is the way we see things here, we want to go through and look at what it normally would cost to put a traditional vineyard in, about 10 grand or so here. But if you use the muscadines, it comes out to about 5,800. So it's a little bit cheaper, simpler trellising, less wire, and so forth. And then you also start taking a look at your production per acre. Traditional grapes, you'll get about $2,800 to $5,600 an acre, depending on what kind of grapes you're growing and how you're doing it. And on the muscadines, you'll get somewhere between $6,400 to $9,600 an acre. You do this with less grapes, grapevines, I should say. 200 vines to the acre for the muscadines, 450 to 550 for the traditional grape. But it's not just the grapes. It's not just the grapes. Take a look at some of the things that we do. We have spent a lot of time traveling in Northern California, Washington State, Oregon, and also in Europe, looking at all the value-added products. Raisins, different types of oils, juices, pies, of course. Everybody likes the pies. There's cosmetic products. There's nutraceutical products. There's vinegars. There's all kinds of products that can come from grapes, but none of it's possible until you have grapes in the ground. If you take a look at the markets, we've got grapes. You can sell them direct to the consumer. Just fresh grapes, if you will. You also have the products that are commercial channels, direct to commercial users, shippers, packers, and so forth. You also have products that are sold on the value-added products. And this is where it starts to get very interesting. There's a lot of products come into this. And I won't bore you with the details on taking a look at this, but trust me when I tell you, there's a lot of different products come from this. This little chart right here, it says Winery Waste. This is what happens after you have extracted the juice you need for wine or juice. Now you start to process the good stuff coming out of the grapevines. For example, you can get out of the grapeseed oil, you can get solvent extracted type processing, cold pressing. There's all kinds of bioplastic, biodiesel, frying oils, cosmetics, and so forth, products that come from the grape left over after the juice. You also have the ability to look at things like the pressed cake, grapeseed extract, nutraceuticals. There's all kinds of ingredients for pasta sauces, solid fuels, and so forth. There's a lot of different products that come from that. And if you look down here, also the Winery Waste, you take a look at ethanol, distillation. I mean, that's what we used to call moonshine here, but you know, the Italians call it grappa if you start with the grapes to make the nice little drink. And then, of course, there's the fiber products. And the fiber products, you've got food wraps, decorative elements, you get pigments and so forth, different types of sugars that come from this. There's a variety of products that come from this. Compost amendment, you can use it for heating water and so forth out of the leftovers. You can have functional composites, food supplements, biofuel, anaerobic, and so forth. So many products that come from now this. And for us to look at this as an opportunity, It's a heritage crop. You put it in the ground once, and for the next 50 to 100 years, you have a crop. And you can produce all kinds of products that come from this. You can do marketing positioning. It's unique for cold weather crops, like Chervim does in Europe. We also start the Agri Tourism. Once the first wineries get started, you're going to see an explosion in the tourism coming into the county. So we're excited about that, and we're just a few years away from having the very first wineries. Again, as I said, over 150 value-added products, dozens of new businesses, hundreds of new jobs that can come from this. And of course, it's also a material source for distilleries. So my suggestion to you is take a look at growing grapes and prosper. And remember the Katuah muscadine. This is going to be the little tiny product that will be the economic engine driver for the mountain counties. Have fun. Have a great day.